everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
Today, we're tackling something we all deal with, but don't always know how to handle, and that is living with uncertainty. And let's face it, life doesn't come with a blueprint, a roadmap. And sometimes it can feel like everything is up in the air, from our relationships to our careers. So it can be challenging, but it can also be an opportunity to grow in faith, to grow in resilience, and to grow in patience. Life doesn't always give us clear answers, but by focusing on the things that we can control, like our mindset, our actions, and our beliefs, we can, I think, more easily navigate the unknown with a little more courage and a lot more peace. So let's get real about how we handle all these questions that we don't always have answers to. This is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth, and every perspective is valued.
That's an awesome introduction into today's topic, Tara. This should be very exciting and informative, and I look forward to see where we're going to go with this. So let's get into it, ladies. Which one of you would like to get started?
So I guess the first question I have is, what does uncertainty mean to you personally? And how does it usually show up in your life?
I can start by saying, I think we all face uncertainty all the time, or I can use my I language and say that I face uncertainty all the time. We don't know what the future holds. I think in this moment, especially around so much uncertainty around this coming presidential election, I have been dealing with uncertainty in my own life and also uncertainty in my work and trying to help other people really manage their uncertainty, but especially think about how to live our lives in the face of uncertainty. What do you do when you don't know what will happen?
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of things you can look at when you talk about uncertainties just in life in general, with job, with education, with children. There's so many things that it is just, I guess, unending. Me at my age, so many of us, when you talk about age, when you talk about health issues that come along with age, and you're not retired, you're still working, and you don't know how long you're going to be working. That comes with uncertainties. What does your future look like when it comes to health, when it comes to, finances? When you are someone in my position, I'm a little up in age and I have a teenager. There's uncertainties that comes with that. How much are you going to be, or how long are you going to be around for someone who's 17 and I'm almost 60? There's uncertainties that come along with that, and your availability for him. How do you prepare for his future when you're so uncertain about your future? Does that make sense? There's those uncertainties. There's those uncertainties that you have to prepare for yourself and for him. I guess, like I said, considering health issues and finances that maybe someone else of a younger age wouldn't have to worry about. So there's those uncertainties that I have that maybe someone else may not have.
For myself, I think my uncertainties lie more in figuring out, or used to lie in figuring out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing with my life, figuring out how to, I guess, live my life in a way that honors what it is that I think I should be doing versus what it is I am doing versus what it is I'm probably am expected to do. And just balancing, what on what side of the coin or what side of the line I want to be on. I know for a while there, for myself, I had uncertainty. The biggest part of it really was trying to figure out what do I do with my time? What do I do with my life that isn't just a drain that actually has some kind of purpose? And is the choice I make, the things that I decide to do, is it worth it? Does it have any value? Or am I just feeding like ego? Or am I just going through the motions? Just trying to figure out what kind of value I have with regard to my community, my society, and if I'm doing the things that I don't know if this is the right way to say it, that are pleasing to God, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily have uncertainty about health issues because, I mean, if there's an issue, I know that I have faith or I know that it can be handled, it can be dealt with. And it's just a matter of figuring out what those steps are for me, because I don't necessarily have anything major going on. So I don't really,
Right.
that doesn't really
Yeah. Because when you
matter.
don't have any health concerns, you don't have any concerns.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do, you don't know how, you don't know, you just don't know what's going to happen as a result of those things. And you don't know how to, sometimes you just don't know how to plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't know what to expect
Right.
and how that's going to affect the other people in your life
Mm-hmm.
or your future or your finances or your work. Or like I said, if you have young children that you still have to care for, those unexpected things.
That's so interesting to me because I think of uncertainty, or where uncertainty comes into play in my own life is uncertainty around those things that I can't control. But it sounds like, Tara, you're saying you actually don't have uncertainty about those things that you can't control, that you give to faith. You have uncertainty about those things that you are doing and whether or not you're doing them well.
Yes. So my uncertainty doesn't lie within myself because, like I said, any health issues that I have, there's one specific one, my severe vitamin D deficiency. But those are things that I can take steps to correct or to work on. But my uncertainty lies more in whether or not, I guess it's a matter of perception, whether or not I am doing the things that I should be doing to live a life that I want to live, to have the reward that I want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, though? You just taught me something, Tara. As believers,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make this make sense and tell me if it does. We really shouldn't have any uncertainties if we're trusting in God, because whatever the concern is, like I just talked about health and finances and, whatever that end result is that we're concerned about,
Mm-hmm.
if we're trusting in God, we really shouldn't have any uncertainties. We should be leaning completely on Him, right?
That's how I feel. That's how I try to to manage my life. But I also recognize that not everybody is a believer and not everybody, even believers, not all believers have that same level of faith or willingness or ability to lean into that quite so much. We all come from different backgrounds and perspectives, and some people it's really difficult to do that. Some people they it's easy to say, well, leave it to God, but when you're in this pain and all these things are going on in your life, a lot of people are going to they have the idea that I know I should be doing this, leading into this, but I'm still experiencing this, and this is very real to me, very current to me right now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure I'm explaining what I mean particularly well, and I feel like I'm not making sense, but whatever.
No, I understood it, but I just, as far as what you taught, what I got from it, or what I took from it, as far as, how it pertains to me and having faith, that part of it makes sense.
I think for me, the way that I imagine that God works in the world is different. I mean, one of the ways that I describe it is that we are the hands of God in the world. And so while I can control, I think, I hope, I try the things that I do with my hands, I actually have very little control over what everybody else does. And so my uncertainty comes in, I can do the best that I can. And at some point, I need to let go and be open to whatever else anybody else does as their hands of God in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I like that explanation. I like your perspective on that. And so far, we've talked about uncertainty in this in this particular area, but what about other types of uncertainty? You mentioned allegedly very real things about like health. And so how do you deal with that when uncertainty arises? I know that it's a concern, but what do you do to either move past it or to address it?
When we talk about health, you have to really be diligent about caring more for yourself and understanding the seriousness of it. I can't say that that's always been the case where I took care of myself the way I needed to, but I do now take my health more seriously. You have to consider the people that it will affect as well, whether it's someone you're leaving behind, whether it's who has to care for you, whether it's going to be how it's going to limit you and your quality of life. And you just have to do better so that you can be better.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
As you were speaking about that, I did sort of think of an area where maybe we could talk about it a little. So, what about there are, I guess, situations where you have several choices, right? You have options to go this way, that way, or another way. And
Points.
yes, turning points, or even, and they don't even have to be like major life decisions, like whether or not to take this job or that job, or the benefits of this versus the benefits of that. It can be something simple, but I guess those are uncertainties because you wonder, you have this choice before you, and what if you take this step, this road, what kinds of consequences, be they good or bad, will arise from that versus if you do this, or if some people are faced with situations where they might have, let's say, job insecurity. And so that lends a certain level of uncertainty to people's lives because you wonder, like, well, what's going to happen, if I lose my job? What'll happen if I get sick and I can't go to work for like a month, that kind of thing. So those are definite uncertainties that people face. And I suppose the question then is, how do we respond? How do you respond when you're faced with something that you can't control? How do you respond when you're faced with something that you don't understand? What particular strategies, if any, have you found helpful?
Kim, I'll let you address that if you want.
I think there are a few different kinds. You named a couple different kinds of uncertainties, Tara. One, I think, is around decision making, right? If I'm trying to, in the face of uncertainty, decide what to do, right? One of the things that I might do is, take it back old school with a pro and con list or a list out of what the possibilities are, just like really old school listing. But I also think about, the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the
Know the
difference.
difference. Mm-hmm.
It's like Reinhold Niebuhr. So for things that I can change, right? I really think about how I can change those and what are the things that I can do to get me closer to the outcome that I want. But then also, sometimes uncertainty is really about accepting the things that I cannot change. And so strategies for being able to do that, to just live in the uncertainty. Things like meditation, right? Meditation, it's to ground and center, or prayer. Sometimes prayer is asking, but sometimes prayer is just naming where I am. I think those are the two that I use the most often.
What about you?
Ask your question again, because I want to make sure that I'm answering.
Lady, I can't ask that question again. I don't remember. I'm kidding. How do you respond when faced with something that you cannot control or that you don't understand? Are there any strategies that you have found to be particularly helpful?
Okay, because I'm thinking back to something you were talking about specifically about making the decision about work, or if you can't work. You were saying something about that, and I was trying to get my words together and the uncertainties that go along with that. And I would hope that if people are listening, that they would just really plan for their future and plan for those uncertain times. With me, that whole uncertainty about work and not knowing what that looks like with health issues and the fear of not being able to work. And I was recently faced with something where I had to have a procedure done and I had to choose not to have it done because I had to be out of work for a lengthy period of time. And just that fear of, do I deal with this health issue or do I deal with being out of work? So I have to deal with the health issue. And that's a scary thing to think about. What does that look like for me in the long run? Will I ever be able to address this health issue? And I hope this is making sense and tying into
It is.
the topic and the question.
Mhm.
But yeah, uncertain times. Yeah.
I think for me, so when I say I don't really have many types of uncertainty, I think part of it goes to exactly what you talked about because I am very much a planner. Very much. Listen, when I go out to eat, I need to look at the menu beforehand because otherwise, I mean, because I need to plan these things because if I don't, I will sit in uncertainty and it will annoy the heck out of the people I'm with. It will take me forever to go through a menu I tend to not have long term or any deep rooted kinds of uncertainty because I know for myself it's not something that I can handle without. I plan, and I plan some more because that's how I feel like I get a handle on my life because I can't handle uncertainties. I don't like it. I never have. And some people think it's like, oh, I don't want you to sound like a geek or a nerd or something like that, but maybe that's part of it. I like to have definite answers. I like to have, I like to know where I'm going. I like to know, I like to know where I'm headed. I like to know and how I'm going to get there. And so I think that's what I mean when I say I don't really have very many because I kind of headed off at the pass, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So
It makes sense.
It does make sense until you get to the thing that you can't actually head off at the pass.
that's
then
true.
what?
Well, for that, I'll turn to one of my favorite scriptures, and that is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." And I alluded to that but earlier. Those things that I cannot handle or that I feel like he hasn't necessarily given me the ability to handle with all my knowledge and all my understanding, I try to give it to him. I trust in him that things will turn out the way that they're supposed to. And to some people that I'm like, well, that's not really an answer. But for me, that is my answer. That is what I do.
I like that because that took me back to what I was saying to you about having faith, and it would remove those uncertainties. For me, that scripture took me back there.
So I think probably my favorite hymn lyric, this might be my favorite hymn lyric, or it's the one that I turn to often because to me it speaks to uncertainty. So it's in our Unitarian Universalist hymnal, and it's written by this Ghanaian drummer, Sol Amarafio. The lyrics are, "We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will."
And what I like about that is the first time hearing that heaven, because that stress can be taken both ways. Like heaven knows, like who knows how we can get there, but the answer is right there. Heaven knows
Heaven
how we're going to
knows.
get there.
I like that.
I love that, Kim. Thank you.
Whoa, yeah.
So, as we wrap up, ladies, let's remember that living with uncertainty isn't about having all the answers. It's about learning to trust even when we can't see the whole picture. Life's twists and turns will come, and sometimes all we can do is take that next step in faith. When we embrace the unknown and this is like from life coaching, when we embrace the unknown, we give ourselves room to grow, to lean into our values, and to discover strengths that we did not even know that we had. So, wherever you're at, whether you are facing a big life decision, a relationship shift, or just wondering what's next, know that it is okay to be a work in progress.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you again for joining us for this episode of Unfiltered Perspectives. Be sure to check out new episodes every Thursday morning, and don't forget to share, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode.
Find us on Facebook and YouTube at Unfiltered Perspectives and Instagram at Unfiltered Perspectives IG. And send us your questions and comments, unfilteredperspectives@outlook.com.
We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you here again next time. Have a great week.
Yay.
Bye-bye.